Ahoy and welcome back once again to I Like Watches, a channel dedicated to the discovery, sometimes accidental discovery and exploration of affordable wristwatches. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you the BL5110-54E, and I've only just discovered it completely by accident. I was on Amazon having a little rummage around. I was actually looking for watches with octagonal bezels because, well, Gerald Genter, what am I getting rid of this bit for? I need to be getting rid of that bit. Yeah, Gerald Genter famously designed the Royal Oak, and they are just so popular. I've become a little bit obsessed recently with the 2100 series by G-Shock, and I've also reviewed a couple of steel watches with octagonal bezels, and yeah, I just stumbled across this one, and I don't think there's been any content made on this watch. In fact, I'm doing a small channel in Injustice. Beyond 36, I think, is the channel, and yeah, they got this watch in around 2 years ago, just after it was launched, and unboxed it and produced a whole load of content on it. But I don't think anybody else has featured this watch on their channel, and one of the reasons I'm quite excited about discovering and sharing this watch with you is because I picked this watch up for about £84, I think it was. I think the retail price in the UK is £199. But on the H. Samuel website, it's discounted, or one version is discounted to £120. And when I saw this on Amazon for just over £80, it just looked too good to ignore. There will be weaknesses. Of course, there will be weaknesses. But it's just whether or not we can overlook those weaknesses, considering the money that we're being asked now, these days, 2 years after it was launched, the money that we're being asked to exchange for this watch. And there it is, look. Oh, tell you what, it feels quite substantial. That's a good sign. There's 8 color versions available globally. Some versions appear to be only available in India or United Arab Emirates or in Europe, but I do believe if you do some searching on places like eBay and Chrono24, you will be able to pick up any version you like. And yeah, there are some interesting color versions available. I just went for the simple black one because yeah, it was just so cheap on Amazon. There's the caliber. It's just a standard quartz movement, three-handed movement with a date. It's got a power reserve indicator, but that's it, I think. Let me just see if the hands are lining up, or the second hand it is. Oh man, what a relief. You can just count on Citizen getting that right, can't you? If this was a Seiko, it would just be a mess. That second hand would be all over the place. But the fact that the second hand is hitting the markers, oh, it's dropped a little bit there, look. It'll be hitting the markers in places anyway, bodes well, I think. There's nothing more frustrating than having quartz movements, cheap quartz movements, where the second hand is just all over the place. Let's see it on the way down, look, it looks all right. Yeah, interesting piece of crystal, isn't it? AR coating doesn't look fantastic. Right, let me get the plastic off. Yeah, do all the usual stuff, resize it, and yeah, I'll be back in a mo. Right, there we go. I've just resized it, and yeah, I just thought I'd put it straight on the wrist. I think we should get straight into the good and the bad. What's good about this watch? Well, obviously the price, super affordable. It's a Citizen. You just don't expect to pay less than £100, less than £150 for Citizen watches. It sits quite nicely on the wrist. Look at that. It's not a small watch, but yeah, it sits quite nicely. You've got female end links, and yeah, on the wrist it feels comfortable enough. It's pretty legible. You've got 8 colors to pick from. The second hand is, well, close enough to the markers for me to be happy. The design, I like the design. Octagonal bezel, they're very, very popular, aren't they? Watches with octagonal bezels. And the case shape, I like the case shape. I was drawn to that as well. Yeah, the finishing looks decent. Not on the bracelet. I'll come on to the bracelet in a minute when I talk about the negatives. But Yeah, you've got circular brushing on top of the case, polishing down the sides. It does appear to be a solid steel case. And yeah, the actual steel finishing looks decent, especially on that octagonal bezel. The transitions look good. The circular brushing looks nice. Yeah, it's not a bad looking watch. I think it's going to make for a pretty decent sort of set and forget beta watch, a watch that's not going to cost you a lot of money. You can just throw into your collection, and if you're going to go out and do some gardening or whatever, yeah, you can just throw it on your wrist. You don't have to worry too much about it. Right, of course, there are going to be some weaknesses. And one thing I will say is I'm not wild about this huge beveled edge on the crystal. It just, I don't know. I'm just not wild about it. Hard to explain. And I don't think the AR coating is particularly good at all. It's also not sapphire crystal. The bracelet and the clasp, of course, they're going to be weaknesses. When you're paying this sort of money for a Citizen, a Seiko, even a Casio Edifice, the bracelet and the clasp is where brands make their cuts to keep the cost of production down. And actually, one thing I didn't mention in my positives, look, you get a smaller link. You still get 3 holes in the clasp, but they've given you a smaller link. Look, split pins, hollow end links, and pressed clasps, or folded links I meant, and of course a pressed clasp, polished center links. I'm actually going to brush this bracelet and see how it comes out, because I do rebrush vintage bracelets, and that's just a horrible, not very nicely polished center link, which isn't great. Yes, oh, you know, look at that. I'm not going to waste my time brushing that, but yeah, there's definitely weaknesses. Of course there is. The loom isn't fantastic. I'll show you the loom grading at the end of the video. But for 80 something pounds, there's a little bit of Seiko in that case, and yeah, octagonal bezel, big dial, very legible, set and forget sort of quartz Citizen watch. Some much nicer colours than this available. There's, I'm not going to say Tiffany blue, because only Tiffany can make Tiffany blue. They've trademarked that actual colour. So yeah, I'm not going to start claiming there's a Tiffany blue dial version. There isn't, but there are some interesting colourful versions available. And I think they're just going to be better than this. This is just a bit dull, isn't it? And a bit boring. But overall, for just over £80, I think it's a watch that we shouldn't be ignoring. And I was just genuinely surprised to see a Citizen watch with this case shape, an octagonal bezel, for this sort of money, that was released fairly recently, that hadn't appeared on any average or larger than average watch review channels. Well, now it has. What do you think, guys? Let me know in the comments section.